What is science? Is this science? Is this science? What about this? While most of us would categorize the first two images as scientific, there are many who would argue that this image is not scientific. For those uninformed, this is an astrology natal chart. My natal chart, to be specific. The debate on the scientific legitimacy of astrology is as old as science itself, with countless arguments from both sides. But when we look at the debate in the modern age, there is an interesting lack of overlap in which aspects of astrology are being debated. Detractors of astrology have mainly focused on the system as a whole and its lack of applicability. Meanwhile, supporters of astrology highlight its use as a system of personal development. While I believe that there is validity in both sides of the argument, I find that the stance against astrology is missing the point of what astrology is today. While astrology is an example of pseudoscience, I believe that it is best used as a tool of self-discovery. Some context before we go further. I am referring to Western astrology in this video, not Chinese or Vedic astrology. According to Britannica.com, they all have their roots in Mesopotamia, but Western astrology stems from its use in Greek and Islamic cultures. Another important point to mention is I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, so take what I say with a grain of salt. That being said, let's take a look at the scientific concerns raised against astrology. A major point leveled against astrology is that it is often unable to yield consistent results when being tested. One study conducted by psychologist Michael Gocklin found a positive correlation between success in careers such as athletics, medicine, acting, etc., and the position of the planets at the time of one's birth, namely Mars. While Gocklin admits that the findings do not support astrology as a whole, the correlation does parallel some findings in natal chart reading used by astrologers. However, as we all know, correlation does not always mean causation. Since the study's publication in 1955, many tests have been done to try and replicate Gocklin's findings, but unfortunately, few tests were able to yield similar results. Over time, the reasoning for Gocklin's results have been attributed to the influence of selection bias on the test subjects' demographics. Another notable test of astrology comes from Sean Carlson, aptly named the double-blind test of astrology. Carlson sought to bridge the gap between the two sides of the is astrology scientific debate by constructing the experiment in a way that satisfies the complaints of both viewpoints. He accomplished this by consulting with astrologers on the design of the test while eliminating any possible bias, hence the double-blind procedure. The test consisted of two parts, one in which seasoned astrologers were asked to pick their natal chart out of a lot, and the second part in which the same astrologers were asked to match random participants' natal charts to their psychological profiles. Both tests were compared to control groups with no experience in astrology who were given the same instructions. The results of the test found that the trained astrologers performed at a similar level to the control group, that being no better than chance. These two tests, along with many others, are the backbone of the argument that astrology is not scientific. But these studies miss the most important aspect of what makes astrology so popular: the individual. Tests like these scrutinize the system with a wide lens, but fail to focus on the individuals using astrology in any way, shape, or form. While astrology is not scientific, there is some evidence to support that it can be used in controlled environments such as therapy. A study conducted by Ada Blair looked into the ways that astrology is addressed when brought to counseling by This study surveyed therapists who have experienced clients bringing astrology into therapy sessions, asking them questions such as, to what extent might your training and subsequent therapeutic approach factor in interactions with clients speaking about astrological groups? Responses to the questionnaire showed that counselors can use astrology to connect with clients and use it as a framework for personal growth in a similar way to more conventional religions and spiritualities. In her study, Blair mentioned a quote by British astrologer and historian Nicholas Campion, which I believe is very relevant to this debate. The quantification of belief is widely understood to be highly problematic, and there are substantial problems with both the collection and interpretation of statistical data concerning religious affiliation, practice, and attitude. If we try and measure astrology by the standards of empirical science, we miss the point of its significance. While it may not withstand scientific testing as a predictive tool, astrology has survived because it offers self-reflection and a shared language for understanding the human experience. Rather than dismissing it as false, we need to appreciate astrology as a meaningful framework that serves different but still valuable human needs. Thank you.